Back to Deep Dive. We're here again to plunge into, well, really fascinating topics and pull out the key nuggets for you. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're taking a journey, not into modern medicine, but back in time. We're cracking open William Boericke's homeopathic materia medica. Ever heard of it? We're exploring a remedy called Carbo Animalis. Animal charcoal. Sounds intriguing, right? Now, just to be clear, our mission today isn't about, endorsing these historical beliefs. Not at all. It's really about understanding what people believed back then, how they documented it so meticulously, and what that tells us about how they approach remedies. Think of it as a shortcut for you, a way to get a handle on a unique slice of medical history. It's full of surprising details, actually. Gets you a fresh perspective.
Absolutely. And to really set the stage, you need to understand what a materia medica is in this context. It's more than just a list. It's this incredibly detailed compilation, almost like a highly specific symptom signature database for each substance. It meticulously details every single symptom and condition thought to connect to that substance, the goal, super precise correlation. The whole idea was to build this unique, exhaustive profile for something like Carbo Animalis, so you could match it perfectly to a patient's overall state, their suffering.
Okay, right. So let's dive into that profile. Let's unpack it. Boericke starts with the general characteristics, like who is Carbo Animalis especially adapted to? He lays it out. Scrofulous and venous constitutions, old people, and after debilitating disease with feeble circulation and lowered vitality. That paints a picture, doesn't it? A very specific type of person.
It really does. And when he says scrofulous and venous constitutions, he's pointing to people constitutionally prone to things like chronic glandular swellings, think lymph nodes, and just generally poor circulation, venous issues. And what's really striking here is that recurring theme you mentioned, systemic weakness. It's not just one symptom. It's like the whole system is, well, compromised. Lowered vitality. The text even highlights some pretty stark physical signs as general indicators. Glands are indurated, hardened, stiff to the touch, not soft and pliable. Also veins distended, and the skin blue, which, often points straight to poor oxygenation, poor circulation. And it adds that all its secretions are offensive. That suggests a kind of general internal imbalance, maybe putrefaction almost. Plus this really curious detail. Local congestions happen, but without heat. Normally, congestion or inflammation involves heat, right?
Yeah.
But not here, apparently.
Without heat. Huh. That is unusual. Okay, this is where it starts getting really specific, especially when we get into the mind and the senses. So under mind, Boericke notes a desire to be alone, sad, and reflective. The patient apparently avoids conversation. And there's this mention of anxiety at night, sometimes with what's called orgasm of blood.
Yeah, that's historical terminology. It likely refers to a sudden, intense feeling, maybe a rush of blood, a strong pulsation or throbbing sensation, especially at night.
Right, like a physical manifestation of that anxiety. Okay, and then the head and senses. Some of these are wild. Get this. A headache, as if head had been blown to pieces. Imagine feeling that. And for the eyes, a sensation as if something lay above eyes so that she could not look up. Very specific obstruction feeling. And hearing, it says, the patient cannot tell direction of sound. How peculiar is that?
It is, isn't it?
Then visually, the description includes bluish cheeks and lips, where there's that circulation theme again, and the nose is swollen, tipped bluish, small tumor on it. It just makes you wonder about the clinical observation behind these notes. Some of us have reported these very specific things.
Well, exactly. These incredibly specific, sometimes frankly bizarre-sounding observations, they really highlight the whole approach of this historical homeopathic documentation. It was utterly meticulous. Every tiny detail, every subtle sensory distortion, no matter how odd it seems to us now, was considered vital information, a piece of the puzzle. The underlying philosophy was that the entire way the illness manifested in the body, including these seemingly minor details, created that unique symptom signature, like a fingerprint for the illness state. It wasn't just about listing symptoms, it was about finding a complete pattern that pointed directly, almost mathematically, to one specific remedy.
A medical fingerprint, I like that. Okay, so how does this pattern play out internally? Let's look at digestion and female health concerns. Boericke gets very specific there too, right? For the stomach, you see things like eating tires, patient, just the act of eating is exhausting. Also a weak, empty feeling, burning and griping pains. Generally, it points towards weak digestion with a lot of flatulence.
Common digestive complaints, but the pattern is key.
And there's a repugnance to fat food. which is quite common in some digestive issues, but also this intriguing mention of ptomaine poisoning.
Which we'd probably just call food poisoning today, likely bacterial, but it shows they were observing the effects of spoiled food.
Yeah. Then for female symptoms, it specifically notes nausea of pregnancy, worse at night. Not just nausea, but worse at night. And the menstrual symptoms are really distinct. Listen to this. Menses too early, frequent, long-lasting, followed by great exhaustion, so weak can hardly speak.
Wow, that level of exhaustion is profound.
Right. And it adds that the flow occurs only in morning, such a specific timing detail. It also highlights painful indurations in breast, those painful hard lumps again, especially right, and even the very serious mention of cancer of uterus, burning pain down thighs.
And if you connect all that back to the bigger picture, you really see how these detailed, often quite debilitating symptoms build that specific profile for Carbo Animalis. There's this consistent thread, isn't there? Systemic exhaustion, very specific localized pains, and these distinct functional weaknesses. It paints a very clear picture of the kind of suffering this remedy was thought to address.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep going through the body systems. What about respiratory issues? Skin, glands, extremities, more physical manifestations. For respiratory, it mentions a lingering stitch remaining after pleurisy, like that sharp pain just doesn't fully go away. An ulceration of lung with feeling of coldness of chest, coldness again, and a cough with discharge of greenish pus. Sounds pretty severe.
Yes, definitely indicates a serious condition. The coldness is that recurring theme again, linked perhaps to poor vitality or circulation.
Then the skin. Descriptions like spongy ulcers, which sound, well, not good, maybe deep, unhealthy sores. A copper-colored eruption, acne rosaceas, and chilblains worsen evening in bed and from cold. That worsening from cold fits the overall picture.
It does. The modalities, the things that make symptoms worse or better, are crucial in this system.
And it even mentions Boericke on hands and face of old people, which are warts, often with that bluish color of the extremities. Again, the blue hints at poor circulation, especially in older individuals. And circling back to that key theme of glands, the source is very precise. Glands indurated, swollen, painful in neck, axilla, groin, mammae, so neck, armpits, groin, breasts, pains lancinating, cutting, burning, very specific pain qualities.
Lancinating pains are those sharp shooting pains. It's trying to capture the exact sensation.
And it specifically includes bubo, which is a swollen lymph node, usually signaling infection, often seen in the groin or armpit.
Correct, like in plague historically, but also other infections.
Okay, and lastly for this section, extremities. It notes pain in coccyx, the tailbone that burns when touched, ouch, and ankles turn easily, suggesting ligament weakness or instability.
Which fits with the general debility theme.
Exactly. It reiterates how straining and overlifting produce great debility, highlighting that overall fragility. And one more unpleasant detail, fetid and profuse night sweat. Another sign pointing towards some kind of systemic imbalance or perhaps infection.
Absolutely. All these physical symptoms, from the very specific pains like the coccyx burning to the skin conditions, the chilblains, the persistent glandular problems, they really build this comprehensive, multi-systemic picture. It's a picture of ability, yes, but with very unique, specific presentations across the board. It's this exhaustive cataloging, trying to capture everything that creates that unique patient blueprint we talked about.
Right. So finally, we get to the factors that influence these symptoms, the modalities and the connections within the system, the relationships. What makes things worse for this Carbo Animalis picture? Boericke lists after shaving, interesting, and loss of animal fluids.
Loss of animal fluids would typically refer to things like significant blood loss, maybe severe diarrhea, vomiting, excessive sweating, essentially fluid depletion, weakening the system further.
Makes sense in the context of weakness. And then it explains the relationship to other carbon group remedies. It says they share commonalities like putrid discharges and exhalations, effects on the skin causing intertrigo and excoriations, so chafing and skin breakdown, glandular enlargements again, and catarrhal states.
Catarrhal states meaning inflammation of mucous membranes, like chronic runny nose or chest congestion.
Gotcha. And also flatulency and asphyxiation. Asphyxiation seems extreme.
It probably refers more broadly to difficulty breathing, maybe states of collapse or near collapse related to severe weakness or perhaps conditions like severe asthma or heart failure rather than literal suffocation in most cases. It reflects that lowered vitality.
Okay.
And this whole section on modalities and relationships, it's actually a crucial piece of the practical puzzle. It explains how all these incredibly detailed observations are actually used. These modalities, what makes symptoms better or worse, and the relationships comparing it to similar remedies, they were the tools used to refine the choice, to zero in on the single best match for that unique patient symptom signature.
So it helped differentiate between similar looking remedies.
Precisely. It's all about finding that incredibly precise correlation. And just as a fascinating little side note in the text, Boericke mentions carbon tetrachloride, a related chemical, not animal charcoal, being used historically for hookworm disease. Any idea why?
Well, carbon tetrachloride is a potent solvent historically used as a fumigant and cleaning agent. It was actually used as an antihelminthic, a dewormer in the early 20th century, though it's quite toxic. Perhaps there was a conceptual link made to the absorbent cleansing idea associated with charcoal, even though the substances are different. It just shows these interesting tangents in historical applications.
That is interesting. So there we have it, our deep dive into Carbo Animalis from
Yeah.
Boericke's Materia Medica. It's really quite remarkable, isn't it? The sheer level of detail, the specificity, it's kind of mind-boggling looking at it from today's perspective.
It truly is. Hopefully, this deep dive has given you, our listener, a unique glimpse into a completely different way of observing, documenting, and understanding the body and its ailments as practiced by physicians in the past. It really shines a light on how different eras have approached the complex task of defining and trying to treat human suffering.
And maybe a final thought for you to ponder. After hearing all this detail, what really stands out to you? It's worth thinking about how systems like the one we've just explored try to classify and respond to human suffering. What does this kind of meticulous, almost obsessive documentation tell us about that enduring human quest for healing? And, what does it reveal about the wonderfully diverse and sometimes strange ways knowledge itself has been structured and applied throughout medical history? Something to think about.